You are watching Sound Candy Talk live. Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye Tonight.
Basi yule mtoto akasema ile siku moja mimi sijaenda kanisani na Yesu Kristo anakuja.
Because kuleta ndege ya Chief of Defense Forces down is not only negligence but criminal negligence.
Nilikuja hapa hadi ya Gong nikamwambia mchague Ruto. Na mimi naomba msamaha.
Na mchezo huu rais, ni mchezo ambao utakusaidia wewe rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Ni mchezo ambao unakufundisha jinsi vile kufanya kazi.
Your Excellency, what helped that case was there was a policeman who recorded his statement in English.
Sasa huyu ndiye nilipiga kofi. Juzi ndio amenipigia simu akaniambia
Tonight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for this amazing time, an amazing episode. I am Osidizo, and tonight we're going to have a short moment together and having a conversation about what the matters that are raising up to our nation. One of the things that is being raising up and the one that is trending out is the story of one and only the amazing man called Gachagua. What do you speak today about the Gachagua today? Gachagua, welcome back home after the two months trip in the United States. Now Gachagua is back. So today we saw all during the day the way people went to meet Gachagua at the airport, the way they were and the way they were committed. You see the shout and the commotion at the JKA, and everyone wanted to see Gachagua, and then the squeezing of people together and all things that happened today. They are all there to make sure that Gachagua is back home. Also, the police on the way, the traffic on the way, but we thank God for the day. So I want to thank God for you, and I want to thank God for everyone that is watching right now so that we can have the conversation together. So today I will bring you to the conversation in an amazing way and in amazing, wow. This is what we will do, the story of Gachagua that is doing today. Gachagua came today into the nation, and he was being received with Kenyans, and everything was on hit, and the nation was on fire today, and everything that was lined up, things never went out the way people were expecting it to go. And also we saw some youth coming out trying to bring out the problem, other people for the DCP just chanting up, appreciating the leader for coming back home and coming to stand again. So that's the word Gachagua or what happened today, and we've been having the conversations towards that Gachagua backing up, as also as that we see the media station complaining, saying that they were one of the teams that were attacked. So we don't know what happened, so that they were attacked. Also, we'll be checking the story too, so that we can realize, or we can come to the conclusion together, or we can make the decision together, not me alone, but everyone and all of us, so that we can come to the agreement. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this, as even we are starting up the conversation today, so that we can be together. We can be together, we can move together, we can have the conversation together, and as even we are continuing together to build up this today's show. So today's be checking about the story of Ricky G, and I'll break it into 3 segments that we will be listening also to other Kenyans, and also be moving up and talking also to other Kenyans, to listening to what they say on Gachagua. So we're having this conversation today, and I want to welcome you all. Feel free, feel part and parcel of this. As you give the comment on the comment section, I'll be also reading them and also having the communication too, so that we can move together. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this. So we're having the conversation tonight. So tonight, I want to begin the conversation from the point of Gachagua speaking it out. So today we'll begin the conversation to the point of the media team complaining that they were set up. This is what happened to the media team.
Journalists from different media houses were violently attacked this afternoon while covering the return of DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua from the United States. Reporters from Royal Media Services, the Standard Group, and TV47 sustained injuries, had equipment stolen, and saw their vehicles vandalized during the chaos. And as Ode Francis now reports, among those injured was Citizen TV's Willie Ogunga, who suffered injuries to the head after being struck with stones.
Citizen TV journalist Willie Ogunga is nursing injuries after being attacked by unknown youths while covering the homecoming convoy of DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua. Ogunga was caught up in the chaos at Cabanas area.
So tukajipata tuko katikati ya guns wa pande ile ya side ya nini Rigathi, na kulikuwa na wengine kutoka hii side nyingine walikuwa wamezuia hiyo magari ya kutoka kwa Rigiji isiteremke chini. So in that confusion, kuhepa ndio mimi niliona giza. Nikashindwa. So kuangalia hivi nilikuwa nafikiria actually macho yangu imetoka. Kuangalia, ukiangalia hii ni nguo, ukiangalia hii yote ni damu. So a colleague alitoa shati yake, akamwagilia maji, ndio nikashikilia hivi.
Ogunga and other journalists were in their work vehicle when they were targeted by the youths. TV47 reporters Jones Nganga, Eric Kioko and Mike Kagwongo also sustained injuries during the incident. Meanwhile, Standard Media Services had equipment stolen and vehicles vandalized in the chaos.
Nilichoona ni kidonda ambacho ni approximately 4 centimeters by 6 centimeters. So tumeweza kumshona.
The attack is part of a disturbing pattern of violence against journalists in Kenya. Recently, another Royal Media Services cameraman reportedly suffered a broken arm while on assignment.
Kama wanahabari, kila dakika tunajipata uko katikati, like sisi ndo tuko pale kwa ile boiling point ya hizi vitu. So juzi a colleague of ours alijipata hatarini, akavunja mkono. Today ni mimi, kesho another journalist. So tungeomba pia serikali uweze kuangalia masuala ya wanahabari, kwa sababu at the end of the day sisi lazima we have to show what is happening. But sasa now if our lives are endangered, hakuna vile tutaweza kupeana story.
This latest incident highlights the increasing risks journalists face in political charged environments. Despite repeated calls for their protection, attacks on the press continue, particularly during high-profile political events. Ode Francis, Citizen TV.
Mambo iko mbio, and things are getting so fast. So Kenyans, please let us be careful. Those are the journalism complaining of being attacked during the protests, and they are saying that they want the government also to increase their security so that they cannot be attacked like that, and as the usual like this. So I want to welcome you all so that we can have the conversation together. Apart from that one, we're seeing again also
journalists from different media
the second part where Gachagua get out of the JKIA and the squeezing Kenya wamejazana wale pamoja until Gachagua himself can't move. Also, that's one of the incidents that happened. This is what happened. This is what also happened during JKIA receiving of Gachagua.
The story that former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua returned to the country on Thursday afternoon after 6 weeks touring the United States. He was met with an overwhelming reception from hundreds of supporters at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. However, his arrival was marked by confusion. Supporters had gathered outside the VIP lounge, expecting him to emerge through the dignitaries' exit. Instead, Gachagua appeared from the General International Arrival section, prompting speculation among his close allies that his exit route may have been deliberately changed. Melita Oletenges reports.
It was a turbulent touchdown for Rigathi Gachagua, the Jomo Kenyatta, arriving at around 2 p.m. engulfed by a surging crowd of supporters, his signature cowboy hat tumbling off repeatedly in the push and shove. Earlier, Gachagua supporters gathered outside the VIP lounge, demanding access, leading to a dramatic scuffle involving police officers, security personnel, political leaders and followers, all eager to reach the man of the hour. But the scene soon took a twist. Gachagua emerged from the General International Arrivals Terminal instead of the VIP lounge, throwing the airport into chaos as supporters scrambled from one end to the other. Normal operations at the airport were disrupted for a moment. Gachagua's accusing President William Ruto trying to restrict Gachagua's movements.
Where were William Ruto? Where were William Ruto? Where? We want to tell you, no amount of intimidation, no amount of police tear gas. President, hajaviende yenye ikifika miti yote inafanya nini?
Despite the anticipation, Gachagua did not address his supporters at the airport. Earlier, however, he had declared that he had cut short his US trip to focus on by-elections slated for November 27th, and that he would return to America next year.
Tuko na by-elections au zinakuja 27. Tunataka tuahirishe hii serikali ya UDA isipate kiti hata moja. Mtasimama na sisi? Mtasimama na sisi?
Gachagua's remarks made while abroad have stirred political tensions. He accused President Ruto of colluding with militia elements and even urging the United States to condemn the current administration over alleged corruption. Security agencies have since summoned him to record a statement regarding those utterances, all he has so far declined to honor. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
This is what is happening, or this is what is going on about the story of Rigathi Gachagua. This is also getting on hit and getting more hotter. So that's what also the movement and the energy from the people. This thing, a lot of things happened today on the Gachagua's coming back. Some people losing their legs, others losing their hands, and also others losing the equipment. Hii imekuwa hatari. So that's what happened today earlier. And also another things happened too. Let's check out this.
Injured as Gachagua supporters clashed with armed goons who attempted to disrupt the procession from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. A group of armed youth attacked the convoy shortly after Gachagua left the airport. Armed with stones and crude weapons, the goons pelted the DCP leaders with stones, injuring several people and damaging vehicles. Citizen TV's Ben Kirui was there.
What was meant to be a triumphant political homecoming for DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua quickly descended into chaos and violence, disrupting planned celebrations and forcing the cancellation of a scheduled stopovers and a rally to address supporters. Tensions began to simmer even before Gachagua's arrival, as groups of youth, some arriving on motorbikes and others ferried in buses, began arriving at the airport. The youth appeared organized and intent on disrupting the procession. Moments after Gachagua's convoy left the airport, violence erupted. The youth began hurling stones at vehicles in the procession, damaging cars and injuring several people, including leaders and supporters. What began as a peaceful procession quickly turned into a scene of panic and disorder. The attacks unfolded in full view of police officers deployed to maintain security. Little was done to quell the violence or protect those under attack. The unrest forced Gachagua to cut short his procession and abandon plans to address a rally at Kamukunji, where he was expected to speak to his supporters. He immediately changed cars and drove off, leaving leaders who were accompanying him to address the supporters.
Wao wanatupangia nyama, wanasema hatuwezi fika nyumbani. Tutafika ama tutafika?
The attack by goons was condemned by DCP leaders who termed it barbaric. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
That's what things that happened during the drive and during the BGJ coming back home. That things were getting hotter like that. Also, I want to take you to other details a little bit. The way Rigathi aliingia nyumbani. Rigathi aliingia nyumbani in a style. And this is how Rigathi entered home in a unique style. So we'll be checking out this. As you know, on swiftly. Let's check out briefly this, and then we'll pick another discussion also. This is how what happened.
Haya, ukipanda haya, pita na huyo, pita na huyo. Haya, sawa. Cheki. Kana huyo, kana huyo. Joti kana hii. Wewe ngoja tulia, mwambie tulia.
One time. What we see? What we got so good? One time. Timetoka. Sasa. We are tired now. One time. One time. One time, every leader must know. One time, power comes and goes. One time, I do we what can do. One time,
There's sort one things that happened during the Gachagua return. Mambo ni mengi masandi machache, but he's still getting towards it and getting to that's the point of it. I want to take it to the next level. Just moving this conversation as we take it to this direction.
Tonight. Basi yule mtoto akasema ya ile siku moja mimi sijaenda kanisani na Yesu Kristo anakuja.
Because kuleta ndege ya Chief of Defense Forces down is not only negligence but criminal negligence.
Nilikuja hapa hadi ya Gong nikamwambia mchague Ruto. Na mimi naomba msamaha.
Na mchezo huu rais ni mchezo ambao utakusaidia wewe rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Ni mchezo ambao unakufundisha jinsi vile kufanya kazi.
Your Excellency, what helped that case was there was a policeman who recorded his statement in English.
Sasa huyu ndiye nilipiga kofi.
You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.
Trouble in paradise. The rapture, the high table continues as State House and the Houses of Parliament trade accusations over bribery and corruption. The rapture is as sudden as any other seismic activity, especially along the volatile tectonic plates that hold Kenya's political landscape. We remain on the corruption Richter scale. And earlier today, Rigathi Gachagua returned from the United States to a mixed reception of goons and supporters. And not a single word from the former deputy president, who, while away, engaged his opponents in an intercontinental ballistic contest. So why the silence? We listen to the ground. And speaking of the ground, Sam Sense is on an empowerment listening tour. Bonya's Bone rummages the closet for bones in Speaker Wetangula's custody. Jamila's memo revisits Chapter 6 of the Constitution for both State House and Parliament. On Kai Kai's kicker, why it's time for the state capture inquiry promised in 2022. And on my take, who is darker? The big debate between the pot and the kettle. The News Gang continues.
The latest Tokohuru in the Senate. Where does somebody find 150 million? Where? Huh? Is that his money? That is money that belongs to the county. Is that correct or not correct? Yes.
And there is a common saying that when the hyena wants to eat its children, it says they smell like goats. So we need...
And welcome back. We're back with the gang, still speaking on this matter of corruption that is now the big talk of town. You know, just as we're listening to which is when the members of parliament passed that bill into law, despite the fact that there were protests outside, because this, according to them, was the right thing to do. But very interestingly, days later after the protests, the president then declines to sign the bill, goes back on it. And this is when he had members of parliament at State House. And what were they all doing? Very happily applauding and clapping when he went against the bill that they passed in parliament a couple of days before, in the environment of protest. And that's not the only bill, especially that has been in government's favor, that has been passed. I think, Jamila, you'd alluded to this earlier. So it's very interesting that you have a parliament that has essentially, for the last couple of years, done the bidding of the executive. Then to have that very same executive come and accuse them of corruption, you then start to ask the question, okay, what is going on here? Is it in fact a sort of tacit admission on the part of the executive that this is what was being done, this is how and why those bills were being passed in the House at such breakneck speed? I mean, even take a look at, for instance, and that is a matter that is in court, so I don't want to canvass too much about it, the impeachment of the now former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, things that you see happening very fast. All of these things that were happening, which were to the benefit of the executive. And now it's the same executive that comes and turns on them and says, well, hey, there's corruption. What's happening here? And I think that's the reason we were asking around this table just what is going on and why this, why now, and why does it look like a political mudslinging contest about who can say what and who can prove. We will not name them, we will not shame them, but we'll have them arrested. Jamila.
In fact, you talk about them. They started mapema sana with this administration. Remember, after the elections and the president being sworn in, how many members of parliament trooped to KK? One of the ones who had won an independent wakaenda. Right. Some of those smaller parties, I think like UDM, wakaenda. Joining this coalition and having all these numbers. Kiasi cha kwamba there was this whole push and pull about which of the two sides had the more members of parliament. But walianza mapema Yvonne, and you give instances when you call it pliability of these members of parliament. Kizungu kubwa kubwa Yvonne utawacha. But the point is this, it got worse with the broad-based arrangement. They got more numbers and they're able to pass more bills into law. But then, Yvonne, I'm looking at it from the point of view of Kenyans. When they watch this happening, I said it's like they look at it as a tennis match. So for them, they're waiting to see, well, this marriage is shaky. Kuna huyu anajua siri ya huyu mwingine. Everyone knows where the skulls are buried. And people really want names, they want information, they want kufichuliwa, like, okay, these are the amounts of money that was given to committee A, B, C, and this was the money that was given to the executive, and this was what the consequence of this was. It was money to pass a bill, it was money to clear someone, tupatiwe details. Because Waswahili husema fahali wawili wakipigana nyasi ndio huumia. In this instance, nyasi watakaumia ni wao wenyewe, the two that are fighting, which is the executive and parliament. But when you listen to them, and I hope we have the sound bites of the MP reaction, maybe you get it, but they were saying a lot of things but saying nothing. Because there was nothing direct being said to the executive. Walikuwa nasema tu vitu mingi, alafu pia there's this thing about how you say it. You sound angry, you're speaking in a loud voice, you sound like nimekasirika, but really, if you look very closely, there's nothing of substance that's being said. I think the one person who said something that sounded okay, kuna kitu hapa, was the chair of the Senate Public Accounts Committee. I think Senator Kajwang, who said, well, the president should come and substantiate what he has said. Yeah. It cannot be a kangaroo court and things like that. But if you listen to members of parliament who were speaking in parliament the day before yesterday, in my opinion, hakuna kitu walikuwa nasema chama na ama cha uzito wowote. I think we should listen to them.
The alleged inducement. Number 3, what was the purpose of the inducement?
How many pipes are leaking government revenue to private pockets? Do your work as members of parliament. Let us call them out. Let us take the war to them.
It must be that they want to salvage their political aspirations at the expense of the members. They must have realized that many members perhaps are unpopular, and so they want to throw them under the bus.
If you're the president and you know those who are stealing, why don't you arrest them?
Why do you come to tell us? What do I have to do with it? You are the president. You are saying you want to fight corruption. And you know those who are stealing. What are you waiting for?
If it is corruption everywhere, and it must be fought in that manner. But if you want to make it sectional, Mr. Speaker, then you lose the war on corruption.
For the president to come and explain who are those people who are demanding bribes? Who are those people who are given bribes? Because you cannot try parliament in a kangaroo court.
We know each other, and I know what transpired even 30 minutes ago. And I think it's good the public know what happened and Isiolo people know what happened.
Anasema tunajuana. Tunajuana sote tulioko hapa tunajuana. But I think ultimately, as I finish, the one thing this whole mudslinging has told Kenyans is this. Viongozi wenu ni wafisadi. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So look, demand, supply,
yeah.
Iko kitu hapo hivyo.
You know, interesting that you say that, because the irony even of the president talking about people receiving 10 million shillings, ironically, to pass an anti-money laundering bill. Honestly, you know, sometimes these jokes write themselves. Huh?
But you see, there's a difference between laundering and dry cleaning, isn't there?
Oh. Is that really? Well, all of that
laundry is dry cleaning 2.0
in washing and whatever it is. But that's the irony. And I think, like Jamila says, okay, so now when Fatuma Dulo says, yeah, we all know what happened, including 30 minutes ago.
Yeah,
that's news. Yeah.
Well, okay, then so should we send everybody home, the executive and parliament? Like, you know, what are we saying here? And I think maybe like Jamila, you were saying. What is it that they're saying that we don't already know? What fire are we shouting? Mm-hmm. The house has been on fire for a long time. We've all known it's been on fire for a long time. So what sort of revelations are these now? Oh, you're corrupt, I'm corrupt. Who's more corrupt? Is it you? Is it me? Is it, you know? Where does this leave us, Jay?
Strategic incoherence.
Who has the big English now?
Oh, simple. Because what in all this noise, what are these guys trying to say? Because it is very obvious that this parliament has done more bidding for the executive than any other parliament that has sat. That individually, they will admit to you the shenanigans that goes on, especially when they're trying to push critical government bills. And even for some of them, it is very lucrative when bills come from the majority side, because they know ultimately we will be induced to pass it. So this is what makes it very interesting, Yvonne, that if you speak to a number of former MPs, they admit to it. They're only shocked at the value, that the value has now gone up. If you listen to some of them that were hosted on this very desk in the course of the week, they were admitting that these things happen. It's only that the size of the check has gone up. So it's a tradition in parliament. And therefore, it doesn't really look good when all these MPs are foaming at the mouth and saying, name them, tell this. No. Like Linus initially said, this is a very strategic opportunity for the country to address this now. Let us engage. Let us speak about it. The president has made a very bold statement, which is akin to belling the cat. Now let the process move. So 10 million was requested. From who? Did you receive the money? Who gave the money? And who was it supposed to be taken to so that the rest receives it? So that is the starting point, that he knows from raw intelligence that MPs or senators received some 150 million. That raw intelligence has got bits and pieces so that he's able to consume it with ease. So he knows who is this that dished the money, who received, and Fatuma Dulo, the senator, says it very clearly. If you look at some of the things that these MPs were writing on their social media posts, that let's stop this pretense. We have done it before. So what we ultimately need to work on is let people try and be honest.
Yeah. Honestly,
Let them be very honest.
Yeah, and I guess that's where we are. So, but where do we go from here, and what is it then that that happens going forward? There's been an attempt at saying, I think what we've all said around this table, that take this forward beyond allegations back and forth. There was that task force in less than 24 hours. Somebody went to court. And Sam, that way forward, does that present something? But then there was all these members of this task force, what they were supposed to do rather generally, but all the members of these are actually people who should be fighting corruption as a crime anyway.
I was hoping I would get a chance to say something about the raw intelligence, because we may not have access to the raw intelligence, but at least we have access to raw material or raw information that comes on a different
and artificial intelligence.
Wow. So exactly the point that Fatuma Dulo, the Senator of Isiolo, was trying to make, maybe we can listen to her in fuller detail of exactly what she was describing. She was actually stopped by the Speaker of the Senate.
Know each other, and I know what transpired even 30 minutes ago. And I think it's good the public know what happened, and Isiolo people know what happened. Mr. Speaker, Sokohuru is taking over this house, and I must say this. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
you cannot impute improper motive on your colleagues. If you want to proceed in that manner, you know what to do. Substantive motions.
Right. So for me, I take an interest in the word Sokohuru, because then President William Ruto talks about Sokohuru at the Senate. He raises questions: how does a governor find 150 million shillings? I do not know whether those two markets are related, but at least you can see recurrence of the word Sokohuru. At the same time, the other raw information that you've gotten is from a member of the same house, that is Senator John Nyoto, who appeared on Citizen TV earlier this week. And he appeared to suggest that during the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, money changed hands.
We are before God and Kenyans today that she did not receive 10 million shillings. Swear before God.
Yes.
Swear before God. Swear before God.
Yes.
You know how you swear before God?
Yes.
The Bible. That you didn't receive 10 million.
Because these are frustrations we are.
Don't say that we are.
We can't help him. That
don't want
process was done. That process.
What help would you give me? I would not need any help from you.
I didn't say I'm giving.
But don't say I'm disappointed.
But you
Senator
are.
Tabitha, you received 10 million shillings.
Did you give me?
Swear before God.
Did you give me anything?
Swear before God. I'm not the one who was given.
It is sad.
I'm not liquidated. See, you said we are not liquidated.
It's so sad.
I'm not liquidated.
This guy actually.
If I was, I would have given it to you. So don't say I'm frustrated.
I don't need it.
Swear before God, Senator Tabitha, and people that you, Senator Tabitha Mutinda, did not receive 10 million Kenya shillings.
Senator, did not
Rigathi
receive
Gachagua.
anything.
Say in the name of God.
Yes.
Don't say yes. Say in the name of God.
Just manage your frustrations.
What frustration?
Just manage your frustrations.
I was not impeached. What a frustration
Just
would I
move on.
manage?
Just move forward.
So
Kenya moved forward.
Where?
Okay. Now, I must say that was a difficult section to.
How did you keep it?
Yeah.
Did you have a
keep
Bible?
yourself
Exactly.
together?
Let's also listen to.
You want to swear?
I want to call an absent of another member of parliament, Robert Mbui, who referred to the same situation of the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua.
We had this impeachment motion against the former deputy president, and money did change hands. People were paid to sign.
How much was it?
100, 200,000
for the signature.
Yes, for the signature, and those who voted were also given money. This is 100, 200,000. There are many members who actually got money. So the only thing is that they will not agree to. They will not agree to it, but we know that they were given money.
Signature was 100 to 200,000.
Yes, actually, the signature was 100,000. But some members were clever. They signed at the majority leader's office and went to the minority leader's office and signed again, so they got twice. But all the same, what I'm saying is that actually money did change hands. You know, some of these things that we are pretending are real, and sometimes
this multi-agency team, for the simple reason that you have the EACC, which is an independent institution. You have the Office of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions incorporated in that team. But all these institutions are supposed to be led by the Office of the President. So there are questions that emerge on what is the independence of EACC when it appears in such a forum. I want to reference what happened in the year 2022, in the lead up to the general election of August 2022. You recall there was a team that was created by the executive then that was supposed to coordinate the preparations for the elections. And it was supposed to be chaired by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Membership was to include IEBC itself, and Wafula Chebukati was supposed to sit there as a representative. So you can imagine a government coming together to come up with a team to coordinate the preparations for the elections at a time you know that it's only IEBC that has the mandate to prepare for elections. And at a time Chebukati, the late, who was chairperson of the commission, came out and
around the COVID PANSA offices. And then I thought, let me go upstairs and see what's there. And voila, there were tenders and I applied and I got one. And those were tenders worth billions of shillings in certain instances. And I remember at the time it was being chaired by, then chair of the PSC, Abdul Samad Sharif. And it was spectacle, right? Let's beware of spectacle, because this could end up being that. In fact, if Sam, what you're saying is, surely the president would be advised that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is independent and cannot be co-opted into such a task force, that the EACC cannot be co-opted into this because it's essentially usurping their roles and powers given to them under the Constitution. So what is all this for? So yeah, funny, okay, haha, look, it's 150, it's 200. But let's just not get taken in. And I think for me, that's the most important thing with all of this, that we just look at it and say, wow, tisk, ay, oh, wow. And then we move on and there is no action that comes out of this. And sometimes you ask yourself, what was happening before this? What's happening during? And what might happen after?
Because even there was no build-up, it just happened.
Yeah. So, think about this. And let's keep our eyes on the prize, because this is what you do. You dangle a carrot and then, or vile unasema unamwaga mtama kule kuna kuku, and all you do is just focus on that and not on the big picture. Linus,
you're right, and the one thing that should not be missed is the rare opportunity. Say that for the first time, the real suspects in grand corruption are having an argument. And that is very, very rare. This opportunity and moment should not be missed. Both houses are vulnerable. There is enough debt on both ends of this exchange. So these two teams are at the dumping site, and they are digging up in a very interesting way. And dig they should, for the sake of the country, because we'll get to know quite a number of things that ought to be known. But I was looking at the whole thing in context, starting with the president. Is it that probably the president finally came to the realization that the one greatest impediment facing Kenya today is grand corruption? Could he have come to the realization that you cannot develop Kenya and have corruption at the same time? It's one or the other. You can't have both. Because if you look at the relationship of this president and the two parliaments, is it two, or actually this should be the third now? Because in my view, the rain really started beating us hard in 2013. That is when the real decline of the political culture in this country worsened. There was a decline before,
Yeah.
but now it worsened in 2013 because our politics became openly transactional. It's completely transactional, it's financial. Look, from 2013, who becomes MP is the highest bidder. You've heard stories about who becomes president. You just need to look at what the current new aspirants are being told. If you don't have 5 billion, don't even think about it. Why? Because of the political culture that matured in 2013 with the new generation of old Kanu politicians coming to the scene and placing money at the center of leadership. So it's coming to bite everyone because this National Assembly and this Senate is made up of that culture where money is the alpha and omega of the political career. You either, if you don't have it, you can't run. If you don't have it, you can't sustain or you can't be re-elected. And let's face it, this has put tremendous pressure on these politicians, which is why corruption is on a grand scale, because they are busy looking for the extra money. And what they have done is to make even their business transactional. You saw the confessions, because let's take them as confessions, on Sam's Daybreak segment. Money first. You want a bill to be passed?
Pay.
Pay. You want impeachment? Pay. You want to avoid impeachment? Pay. So this is why I'm saying this opportunity should not be missed.
Yeah.
The opportunity not just to talk about graft, but also to confront the unsustainable culture of corruption in our politics and money in our politics. I need to say this because this parliament, for many times, operated out of the tents at State House, parliamentary group meetings in State House. So is it possible that President Ruto is tired of running the feedlot? Yeah, because it's not sustainable. They'll come and eat again and take and pick and they. So how many bills can you fund? You had his frustration saying 10 million was taken for the money laundering bill. I think looking at the number of pieces of legislations you need to run through a term, mid-term his first term, I think President Ruto is possibly tired of running the feedlot because of transactional politics. So it'll be really nice for the country to have a wholesome conversation about the political culture and change this political culture. Let this be the last generation of politicians, members of parliament, presidents, and other positions to run leadership this way. Now we know it's not sustainable. If they themselves cannot agree, then if they themselves can find it unsustainable, then this is the time to say, can we draw a line as a country and say this political culture must change?
Yeah, I mean, they say there's no honor among thieves, but I want to ask you about that meaningful conversation where we then have some meaningful outcomes, because this is a conversation that's happening, like you say, between two people who are accusing each other, or, you know, the prime suspects in this. So what's this wholesome conversation, and how do we move this from talk and all of this ping pong match to something that actually, like you say, draws the line in the sand and says, okay, things will be different from here? Because I think the concern is that we'll just talk, and then because, you know, we've been shocked, billions of shillings and this scam and that one. It's becoming part of our lingo now.
Look, I think we are on delayed listening mode as a country, because what President Ruto is doing now and saying now is exactly why the Gen Zs were on the streets last year. These were the things they were saying that we don't understand. You're displaying watches and shoes and you're calling that leadership. You are going to churches and giving millions and saying that is leadership. They started this debate. Let's not forget it, that the real trigger to all that we are seeing right now. That conversation already started in the streets last year, precisely on the 18th of June, 2024. So, because we are on this delayed listening, that's why, by the way, has there been any progress in this country between the last protests and now? We are a country that has this political tension going on. There's some uncertainty that has been present, and persistent since that time, because we are not addressing these issues. So the political class needs to now that they are talking, now you are sounding like the Gen Zs. This is what they were saying. They were saying money cannot be the center of your leadership and politics. They were saying corruption cannot be the method of leading the country. And so the conversation really, Yvonne, had started. Now, we had the former Prime Minister talking about intergenerational change, intergenerational
dialogue,
conclave. Here are the issues. They're all on the table. Let's discuss our political culture. Let's discuss the place of integrity and leadership in governance. Let's discuss why the youth went to the streets last year. That conversation is actually on. It's only that the politicians come in and walk out depending on the time that it presses the foot.
I think, Yvonne, we need to be honest with ourselves as a country. We keep saying, oh, corruption is a cancer in the fabric of the Kenyan society. We repeat it so many times. But I think one of the root causes of our problems is that we have an inability or an unwillingness as a society to hold those who are corrupt accountable. Because our record of fighting corruption is flimsy at best, Yvonne. It's very rare, especially for the high and mighty, that big man syndrome, that kama ni mwizi wetu. We accompany them to Integrity Center and clapping and shouting and saying, mtu wetu anaonewa. It's the petty offenders, the chicken thieves, the handbag stealers, the handbag snatchers. Those are the ones who get swift justice. But those with influence, wale wenyewe, they walk free, wave at crowds, and in some cases they run for office and win. So when you're talking about how there's zero tolerance to corruption, what is zero tolerance to corruption? It's a very high standard. But you need to mean, that it needs to mean what it says. It's no exceptions. But we've normalized the abnormal, electing and celebrating individuals with active corruption cases, and we turn a blind eye to them so long as they throw us crumbs, a few handouts, a slogan. Unajua, anazungumza lugha yangu. He's from my community. So it doesn't matter if he's been accused of a crime and he's been taken to court. Before the elections last year, there was a whole list of aspirants who were flagged as having either cases, having been involved in corruption, not having the required education certificates or qualifications, but nearly all of them were allowed to run. They were clear to run, and some of them did win, and they're sitting in those public offices. And I think if we as a people don't decide to treat corruption as a deal breaker, especially at the ballot, nothing is going to change. Because when you divert funds, you diverted 2 million shillings or 2 billion shillings, that money doesn't just disappear. It steals classrooms. It steals teachers' salaries. It steals a hospital that's supposed to have been built. It steals madawa, medical equipment. It steals that road that would have been better built, but was purely built. Accidents happen. Repairs cost more, but lives ikienda zimeenda hivyo. And then we bring those same leaders back because they gave us 200 shillings at a rally. We need to make it a deal breaker at the ballot that if you are involved in corruption, we are not going to elect you. Otherwise, politicians will continue talking. They'll do nothing. They'll just be doing whatever they want behind the scenes. When they come to us, they lie to us. We'll vote them in, and we'll all go back to the status quo. Pali tulikuwa, hakuna mabadiliko. Yeah.
Time for perhaps a deeper conversation. We want to still talk about this some more, including the return of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We've got more to say on this matter as well. So where do we go from here? How do we have a deeper conversation? How do we have some change around this? And indeed, what does the political landscape look like now? The Deputy President says he's back in the country earlier than scheduled because there's a set of by-elections that are coming up. We will take a look at what's been happening on that front as well. This is Newsgang. Welcome back. The hashtag is NewsGang. I just want to take a look at a couple of tweets. Alex Owiti says, what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. Political culture in Kenya is like pigs playing in the mud. This bad culture
You're quoting an MP?
will... no. Huh?
In Kenya.
Oh, okay.
Huh? No, he's a Kenyan. No.
Oh, not an MP.
No. This is not a confession. This is Alex Owiti saying the bad culture will autocorrect itself. Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok says graft allegations in National Assembly is not news to Kenyans. Good number of them fighting various corruption cases in court. That's the truth. So there's, quite a bit that's being discussed in terms of Parliament. And I think we've talked about the role of Parliament. Perhaps one of the most empowered under this constitution to be able to carry out its role of oversight, legislation and representation. I mean, I think even the PFM Act has given them sweeping powers, even when it comes to, taking a look at the budget and deciding that's a lot of those powers were removed from the executive. But there's questions as to whether they have fully exercised the powers that have been given to them and the authority and the mandate in this one, particularly the one on independence, Jay.
And that is where the problem is, Yvonne, because when you listen to our members of parliament, not just in this instance, but even in previous issues, the question around, are they truly independent? Or our parliament is a sort of a marionette that somebody controls from somewhere. And the beautiful moment we have now is that the confessions are coming. If you hear the chorus right now is, we have done everything that this president wanted. Why is he throwing us under the bus? And I think perhaps it's important to listen to some of them say it and confessing that they have failed the Kenyan people by their dalliance with the executive.
The events of 2024. These members of parliament were nearly killed in this house as they defended democracy and the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, after that, there were some allegations that money had changed hands. I think there was a figure of 2 million that time. And members, some of them even lost their property. Their houses were burnt. Others lost livestock and other things. So, Mr. Speaker, an allegation of bribery against a member, especially the figures that are being touted, even makes it, we feel endangered as you walk the street. People, first of all, imagine you are some 10 million or some 150 million, and others possibly think you are the worst enemy of the people. Mr. Speaker, we have been called MPs. We have been called all manner of names. So as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge you, as the leader of this House, to do whatever it can, Mr. Speaker, to defend the integrity of this House.
And that is a confession coming from a member of parliament, actually, who pushed for this debate to happen. And his confession tells us one thing that we've always feared, that the independence of this parliament is questionable, that every action must have some semblance of a push from the executive. And you see, if you look at the role of parliament today, it's supposed to do only 3 basic things. It's supposed to oversight the national government, it's supposed to represent the electorate, and legislate. The quality that comes out, and even other bites that you listen to members of parliament on that Tuesday afternoon, they are all asking that one question, that we have done everything you wanted us to do. Why are you doing this to us now? So I think that moment needs not to be missed so that Kenyans pile pressure and MPs start doing the job that they were elected to do.
Yeah, and that job includes raising questions, right? Oversight.
Right.
Like Jaya said, have they properly conducted that role?
You see, the question that we must never forget is, why is it that even during hard economic times, it's only the political class that has money? Again, this week has been quite revealing in terms of the information of what goes on in the political circles. And you find some of them confessing that indeed, for them to appear at a Harambee over the weekend, whether it's on Sunday or Saturday, they have to they receive the money they're going to give from somewhere. So you can imagine that Yvonne is the guest of honor this Sunday at a church somewhere. She calls me, gives me 50,000 shillings. I appear at that event on Sunday. She invites me to give my mchango, and I give my 50,000 shillings.
This is hypothetical.
Yeah, it's hypothetical.
Let's state that.
Yes.
In this era of confessions, this might be mistaken for one of those.
It's an example for your understanding. So
You may want to make him swear for that.
Yeah. You can imagine the sort of deception that is going on in the country.
Yeah.
That politics pays, politicians have money, yet that money is coming from a certain basket.
Yeah.
And which basket is that? Because I don't think we budget for Harambes.
No.
In any case, if you remember July last year, we were told that all Harambes had been banned.
Yeah.
And there was going to be a law introduced through the Office of the Attorney General to limit and define how can you contribute, including charitable organizations or contributing for charity. We've not seen it, but Harambes are back. Where is that money coming from? At the same time, you must remember that in this country over the past few years, we've seen a lot of investigations. I want to start by what happened with COVID billionaires through that committee. Was it Public Accounts Committee?
Yes.
And there were heated discussions. You remember the same was happening at the Senate. I remember the then chairperson of KEMSA, Kembi Gitura, appearing. And the senators were breathing fire. They wanted to understand why he was presiding over an organization that we were seeing that kind of business that was going on. But after the heat, after the anger, after the sound bites, what
happens? Yeah.
So a report was presented. Who implemented it? We don't see anything. But you see members of parliament continuing with the activities, winning elections, winning different elections. How does that happen? At the same time, during this current term, remember there's a time we were talking about Adani deal or Adani deals. One of them went through, if you recall, the one that was in the energy sector.
Yeah.
Then another one was under discussion and serious consideration that they're going to expand the airport, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, up until a documentary came out in the US. And the president said that based on information from our partners, we
Raw
have
intelligence?
more
Sorry.
intelligence. Well,
That one wasn't raw, but this anyway.
yeah, it was refined. And a decision was made that that deal was being cancelled. So not just the PPP that was under consideration for JKI, but also the one in the energy sector.
Right.
What were members of parliament doing at the time?
Yeah.
So yes, they were listening to the various officials, but what exactly were they asking for in terms of information? At the same time, Talanta Stadium is at an advanced stage of construction. I remember at the very start, the sports committee inviting the PS for sports then, Engineer Tum, to explain what is the cost of this stadium. And he couldn't answer. And he said, this is under the Kenya Defense Forces, so it's them that are supposed to answer. And of course, it was confusing that such a sports facility would be constructed under a budget of the Kenya Defense Forces, yet it's a sports facility. The members of parliament, did they pursue further to understand what is the cost? We hear now the cost when it's being announced by cabinet secretaries. I think it was actually CS Soipanto Yahuali in the year, went to the house and explained how much it was going to cost. Why wouldn't parliament know? Yet they're the ones that budget. They're the ones who appropriate resources for different projects. The Social Health Authority, what Jamila had mentioned earlier on, the 104 billion shillings. This is a particular case that really Parliament has failed Kenyans because questions were raised. I remember several members of the Health Committee raising questions and opposing it. Then a retreat was called in Mombasa. And after that, a clean bill of health was given towards that. That's why it's under.
Wasn't that the bill that they said they signed and didn't read it and didn't understand? And then came and told us after the fact that, we didn't know this was in it.
There were the bills, and then there was the project. The technological system that is supposed to guide to the health sector costing 104 billion shillings. So, and Parliament is not bothered that that actually happened and no concrete answers that were given. The other thing that we must ask, currently there's investigations into e-citizen transactions, about 9.6 billion shillings. We have seen members of parliament expressing this, quite angry and calling this is outright scam. So, and then what? So assuming that eventually the state officers or the public officers appear and give their evidence or the information they have, then what? What report are they going to write? What recommendations are they going to write? Or is this what now the president explains about raw intelligence as to what is happening? Hustler fund with so much money lost. They keep inviting these people. They ask questions, they answer, then they go. But public resources are being lost. So really, if Parliament is to redeem itself, like Geoffrey Ndeto suggests, I think it's in clip number 6. Maybe we should listen to him.
And Mr. Speaker, we must first of all, and if you allow me, since I had a substantive motion, Mr. Speaker, add me only 2 minutes so that I finish. Mr. Speaker, it is important that you lead us to restore the dignity of this House. And there are certain things that we must stop doing. First of all, we have what I would call an unholy dalliance with the executive. That must.
Give him a minute. Give him.
Mr. Speaker, this House has to stop being a choir for the executive. Mr. Speaker, this week we have also seen a lot of attack on CDF and an attack on Constituency Roads Fund by the same executive whom we have helped here with very difficult decisions. And now, I think, Mr. Speaker, the chickens have come to roost. Mr. Speaker, I invite the members of the executive to read Matthew chapter 7, verses 3 to 5. We know corruption is a big issue in this country, but the Bible reminds us, while look at the speck of sawdust in your neighbor, while you yourself, you have a log inside your eye. Mr. Speaker, as I finish, it appears some people are falling, but we will not allow them to fall with the whole House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So specks and logs are not good things in the eye. I think it's time for members of Parliament.
Wow.
Members of Parliament.
Yeah, yeah, and
Specs.
He would know better.
well, yeah. But certainly
we're
not
being
in the
targeted.
eye, whichever way you look at it, you know.
Yes.
But this is a House generally, like we've said, you know. Perhaps houses of dishonor. There's a headline from People Daily back in 2018, House of Bribes. Some House team chairs alleged to have pocketed as little as 200,000, with the highest taking 120 million shillings to doctor reports. And this is something we've heard on. And I think, like we're saying, it's great to invite, this conversation. And it's great that we're finally having this conversation on the table. Linus, I think we had once upon a time said that this should have been a campaign issue. This should have been something that was, high up on the scale. During the campaigns with certain promises. And of course, with all the candidates, and like you had alluded to earlier, it's to start to take a look at even the persons that are raising questions regarding, corruption in the country.
And look, there's so much that needs to happen before Ndeto's aspirations of re-energizing that parliament are realized. There's a very sad realization that must be made here. The political class at all levels is currently operating on the lowest margins of mandate. It's the weakest mandate ever, I think, in the political history of this country. After what we've seen in the last few days, in especially parliamentary democracies, the next thing would have been calling for fresh elections, because you have institutions that are increasingly losing the faith of the people. And I pity the few members of parliament that actually realize that things are so bad. And I saw Ndeto saying they should stop being the choir of the executive. How will they not be the choir of the executive when the organist is the speaker? Or when the chief drummer, the person with the, or can I call it a kayamba, because it normally makes choir music quite interesting. The leadership of parliament. This is a very serious indictment of the leadership of parliament. And when you look at the leadership of parliament, it's not just what you do or what you say, but actually how you carry yourself and how you carry that office. 2013 all the way this way, we've seen the cheapening of some of these offices, including the office of the speaker, whether you're talking of Senate or National Assembly. You're very likely to meet the speaker of either house in the nearest funeral service, in the nearest rally. You know, you line them up there speaking with the members of parliament. And, you know, they even try to follow order of precedence. You see, there is a reason we put them in those motorcades. Because you want to preserve the dignity of that office. But now you put in the motorcade one time, and then you retrieve them and put them in a funeral platform to talk the same language as politicians. I think we have a serious human resources problem right now in our political body politic, where people who do not understand the weight of the roles that they hold, they do not separate their individual weaknesses from the strength of the offices. You know, even if you're a weak politician in person, when the office comes, your responsibility is now to make sure your weaknesses don't interfere with the strength of that office. Speaker is number 3 in order of precedence in this country, meaning it's presidential material, meaning actually the president should benefit from the advice of a speaker. Does that happen? They look so, how do I put it? They're so grateful to State House. Thank you, you know, you made us, yeah? And in the process, the institution of parliament suffers. That's how we got here. The decline has been mainly driven by HR. Now I want to go to the other decline, and I want us to listen to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chair, Bishop Oginde.
Actually doing active investigations on various individuals, and as and when that kind of information is available, we'll share with members of the public, or you'll see the consequences in the various levels of the legal system.
This is supposed to be one of the most powerful institutions in this country, especially on the issue of corruption. It has the sole mandate of investigating and acting against corruption. It's backed by many laws. First, the Constitution, the Ethics and Integrity Act. You know, there's so many laws that support the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Now, because the president spoke and, you know, and attacked the National Assembly, next day, I think, is when now they emerged. You know, as schoolboys, there used to be one moment that really excited us, and that's when we hear the games time bell. Yeah, that is the EACC now coming in, telling us, oh, we have a number of individuals that you will soon see. This is the HR problem that we have in this country. What if the office of the Auditor General was to behave the same way? What if the office of the Controller of Budget was to behave the same way? The weaknesses of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, both as an institution and as a HR environment, as some of the reasons why now you have the president deciding to combine all of them to try and make them a task force. It's a task force of weaklings who could not actually execute their role as given by the law. When I worked as a reporter in South Africa, there was the Directorate of Prosecutions that was running a unit called the Scorpions, in charge of corruption cases. It was feared because they brought consequences. This is the unit that investigated Jacob Zuma, then as president, you know, for state capture.
The Guptas.
Now, what stories do we hear about the EACC? You hear visits to governors that are somehow then muted after. So, how can we fight corruption that way? The day we have an EACC that understands that they are the adults in that space, and they're the only ones in charge of that, and they cannot be directed by the president, they cannot be directed by anybody else. Their relationship with the executive is that of them working with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for prosecutions of cases that they'll investigate. is the day we'll start having some progress in the fight against corruption. Look, Kenya, we have a very good blueprint in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. It was written for the worst of our days because it was written with hindsight. You know, what we've went through. And and that's why you see the likes of President Uhuru Kenyatta, President William Ruto, they always run into some roadblocks because all political bad manners were written against in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Now, when it gives us a beautiful provision for the EACC, ODPP, independent officers that you're talking about canon, when we don't allow those institutions, when those institutions don't exercise that authority, because it's not even a question of allowing them. If you are EACC chair, if you are EACC CEO, what more do you need? What other clearance is that you're looking for before?
They'll tell you the budgets.
The budgets,
And this is what is affecting us. It's delaying our journey to institutionalism. And just like President Ruto and Parliament, we'll all come to a realization in this country that without effective institutions, we will continue becoming fantastic panelists on television shows.
Wow. So now, here's something else that happened today. Hayawi. It was meant to be a 2-month trip, but it was cut short suddenly from firing salvos, from the US. The former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua returned to the country today. I just want to do some quick rounds because we didn't see much from him or hear from him, and I think you can see what that was. All the fanfare about security and making sure that this doesn't happen and crowds are not allowed to gather. I mean, I think the initial plan was he was going to address a gathering at Kamkunji grounds. But he arrived, didn't say a word, but the rest of the DCP members and supporters were present and had this sort of rally. I guess it was sort of like an echo of I just find our politics interesting. You go out of the country and then you come back and it's supposed to be some big event, but here we are. It reminds me of Baba while you were away.
Came back.
Remember?
They tried doing Gachagua while you were away.
By the way, and Baba while you were away was when he was in the US, wasn't it? So there must be something about the US. For those around the table who've been there, tell us why this is necessary and now you've never come back in this fashion.
Ukirudi unarudi tu unaingia kwa taksi unakuja nyumbani.
Nanyeshewa kwanza kwa hiyo. But it was an interesting thing today. Anyway, he came back, hasn't spoken, and there was a lot that would he be arrested, would he not? There was calls for that about some of the statements that he'd made, I think, prior to his exit. Prior to his departure, and now that he's back, Jamila, this was one of those days, and of course looking all American and that.
With the cowboy hat. But there was this whole thing about you're supposed to come out from the VIP area, and then he didn't. Akatokea kwa pali watu wa kawaida wanatokea, and then there was this whole chaos. There was the footage that we saw of him being pushed and shoved, trying to get him out, get into his car. There was the whole thing about goons. There was tear gas at some point. Journalists were injured during this whole thing. It became a mess, Yvonne, and of course he didn't speak. But we'll talk a bit more about his arrival. But just picking up from the previous conversation we were having, I think Rigathi Gachagua, where he is, he's practically frothing at the mouth to talk about this whole ping pong between the executive and parliament about corruption. Gachagua, while you were away, this happened. Yes, he was part of this administration since the beginning, and yes, he did benefit from whatever laws were passed or bills were passed for the executive by parliament. But then now he's on the other side, and he has spoken against this parliament severally, especially after this same parliament impeached him in record time. So amekuwa akiwashtumu. So he practically wouldn't be surprised if there's either a press conference tomorrow or an interview with the media house where he'll talk a bit more about this whole thing. Yani saizi pali kuna sema I can't wait to speak. you know, when I could hear some government officials saying, thank God he's away, kuna amani kidogo. Because remember how he would talk immediately after the president has.
Yeah.
And he'd speak and there'd be all these things that he would say. And in the beginning, he had done quite a bit of that while in the US. Then he's kind of like alipunguza kidogo. But then him coming back, Gachagua is back, the chaos notwithstanding, the tear gas, the injuries to journalists, which are very, very unfortunate. He didn't speak much. Of course, there was a lot of anticipation about what he would say now that he's back. Lakini atazungumza, watu wangoje tu. Kama si kesho, ni kesho kutwa.
Yeah. We saw again the return, or perhaps let me not even call them return, because it seems to be a mainstay of our political circles and our public gatherings, the return of goons, Sam, once again, regardless of whatever that is. This is a very worrying trend in our politics today.
Yep.
That you have this deployment by whoever of these goons, considering there was such a heavy police deployment. I think we saw that even at the airport with the water cannons, and they were apparently ready to handle the large crowds, but perhaps not ready to handle the goons. This is becoming a very ugly mark now in the country.
And I think that's the most unfortunate event to have happened today in regards to the violence that you're seeing, that people that have nothing to do with the return of Rigathi Gachagua are now nursing injuries. We're talking about journalists who have been injured, bid houses that have lost equipment or vehicles, other members of the public that have also been injured in, of course, what was happening today. It is rather unfortunate that we are turning into this, and I just hope that the politicians in Nairobi can call themselves to some meeting of conscience to really think of how exactly, however difficult that is, Linus, how exactly do they want to run their politics? Because really, you cannot keep deploying your goons to come and support whatever you want to achieve. I mean, surely there's no election today, there's no election tomorrow. The next election is actually 27th of November, which are by-elections. We don't even have the candidates. They've not been cleared or registered by the IEBC. So what's the fight about? Most people, when they go out, like when Rigathi Gachagua left the country, do you even know that now he has left? Well, he announced yes, but he was not escorted by the public.
Right, yeah.
When President William Ruto left, yes, media houses will learn about it because they will be sent the footage from his press crew. Well, imagine that when he's coming back, we'll still receive pictures. I mean, I don't see why it's such a big deal to come back home. But then, them being politicians, there's the value of politics of homecoming. I just don't know if it adds any value anymore. But I think it's just posturing for the events that are about to happen, like Jamila says. So imagining that today, part of the top stories is about Rigathi Gachagua's return. If you look at the newspapers tomorrow, I would imagine that they'll have some of those stories on the front pages. Then tomorrow he calls a press conference, then he dominates the coverage again. So this is the return of Rigathi Gachagua, the person who you would imagine has been quite a thorn for the government of President William Ruto. So it's a matter of watching what this will mean for the opposition politics at a time that we've been seeing them speaking at different corners, each person pushing for their own interest, and we'll wait to see how they can now push their politics forward. But we must hope and we must work so hard to ensure that we can protect the democratic rights of every person in this country, to ensure that we are not losing lives and not getting injuries, long-lasting injuries, just because you at an event.
That's unfortunate. A homecoming, I know there's a particular now politician who's done a homecoming several times, and so it's from the US. There's something peculiar about a return from the United States. And every time there's been said politician has returned, homecoming comes back, homecoming comes back. So here's another one.
I think,
and a homecoming to what? Obviously, there's more politics here in the country.
I think I need to remind some that the first year after an election in this country always features
homecomings.
Yes. So it's a tradition in our politics that we must create some razzmatazz around our personalities so that we be seen to be people of importance. But speaking of this, such grand homecomings, I think the Rigathi team missed an element of planning. They should have planned better, because the kind of fracas we saw at the exit of the international arrivals is not a good picture. I think I saw somebody in some group saying that that is not how you welcome somebody that you have missed, that has been away for a very long time, and you really wanted to show the love and everything that revolves around such homecoming. So planning, they could have done better. But I also think the fears that were inherent about police and his arrest, considering the statement he had made, are some of the things that made it happen like that. The main mistake I think Rigathi made was to speak a lot while in the US. So he was not scarce. People didn't miss him. He was in the news every single day. He was giving a rebuttal every 8 hours. And with that, he was a permanent fixture in our newsrooms. So he comes and he spoke 24 hours ago. There's nothing really that intrigues or inspires you to look forward to it. But then again, as a journalist, I think he disappointed. I expected sound bites.
So you're saying you didn't miss him?
Just the sound bites.
Like a sound bite.
Yeah, he was talking every day while he was away.
Yes.
So yeah,
it didn't appear like he was away.
right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, a fair point. Linus, you get the final word on this one. Yeah.
Well, I think we just need to observe what it looks like in the next few days and what Rigathi will be up to. Politically speaking, he moved around with his missile launcher. I think he had a mobile one because he moved from
an RPG.
Seattle.
No, from Wamunyoro to Seattle. He had made it look like he's still around, giving rebuttals and all that. Well, I believe he thinks that is good points he was scoring. We'll also be looking and finding out whether they call themselves a united opposition. It goes around in. We didn't see them welcoming a brother.
I love.
And it's also just a statement. It looks to me like all this united opposition are united in their different quarters, everybody operating from their own quarters. But let it not be lost the fact that it's still 2 years away from the next general election. But this culture of homecoming, Bonyo, we see politicians trying to relieve and bring back memories of the 90s when Kenneth Stanley Njindo Matiba was admitted in a hospital in London, and he came back a few weeks to the elections. And obviously the build-up among his supporters was quite strong, and they gave him a very, very good reception. And then Mwai Kibaki was admitted in London hospital in 2002, and I remember we were covering the story from the airport on foot all the way to Uhuru Park, and the whole route was lined up. So politicians consider these foreign trips and the returns very good optics, good camera pictures, and I think you see them trying to recreate that. Raila Odinga has done that a number of times. But the one thing that we've seen today and we saw with Raila Odinga's returns is that element of violence, which to me puts the police, again, National Police Service. The National Police Service really needs to ask itself a simple question: are you objective or are you partisan? Because those goons there today, they fought freely. You know, our people are injured by stone throwing mobs, and they told us they could not see any police in sight. Why is that?
Exactly.
It's because the culture of aligning the police service with particular political opinions is still very strong. And you need to lump this together with what is going on in Parliament, what is going on in State House. This is really part of the delay of our greatest potential as a country. Because the policemen have no reason to take sides in small things like this. You don't have a reason to protect goons. Because when you don't disperse mobs that are fighting, then it means you are with one side.
Yeah.
And we saw it during the July 7, was it? And even the anniversary of June 25th. We saw that police can actually escort mobs and goons. Shame, this is really, really, really shameful. And these are some of the things that are really delaying our progress as a country. And it also reduces how we are perceived. Because that's really primitive. You shouldn't have those boys fighting. You know, there was a politician that had a press conference yesterday. The police service had a press conference yesterday. So why should we have such confrontations? Sometimes just let these guys come in, stick out of their sunroofs, and go home. Yeah, and let it. There's nothing it takes away.
Let it be a non-event.
Yeah,
but you end up making it an event.
Yeah. So I think on this, the police service is again on this trajectory of letting down even progress in this country.
Absolutely.
Kumaliza?
We need a homegoing.
Homegoing, eh? Sawa. Hivyo unaanza kumaliza.
Okay. Leo ni mimi. Sawa.
All right, thank you. We'll sustain the daybreak. Before we take the reactions and feedback at Trevor Media at Citizen TV Kenya using the hashtag daybreak, Honorable Edwin Sifuna is now with us, Senator for Nairobi, and thank you so much for making time, Sifuna. Before you came in, there are three things that came up. One, Alwale said you're cowards, you were hiding in the office.
Cowards.
Two, he said you paid youths 1,500 shillings. And he also said that Azimio leaders should be arrested because they bear the greatest brand of responsibility. So I'll come to you right after Sifuna.
Yeah, first of all, Trevor, let me apologize to you and to your viewers for coming late. We haven't slept in Nairobi. We have had a very long night here in Nairobi because many of our people were injured during the demonstrations. Many have been nursing gunshot wounds. We have reports from Mathare, places like Embakasi. Upwards of maybe 15 people lost their lives yesterday. And it is quite disheartening to see my colleagues making jokes of this matter, because those of us who have interacted with the victims of the police brutality yesterday, we don't see anything to laugh about. I would rather be waking up this morning as an advocate to go and represent those young people if they have been arrested for whatever crime it is that they are suspected of having committed. Trevor, just the other week, our courts gave a judgment that outlawed or made it unconstitutional for people to spend lifetime in jail for whatever crime they commit. Now, you can imagine our court saying that life sentences are unconstitutional, but this regime is dishing out death sentences on the streets without ever giving these young people an opportunity to be heard. Number two, nobody is going to threaten us. There is nothing these people have said, have not said. There is nothing they can scare us with. If it is arrest, we are ready to be arrested. Because Khalwale is not a lawyer, he doesn't understand that arresting someone is not an end in itself. Because when you appear before that judge, you must demonstrate with evidence the causal link. There has to be a direct link between the action complained of and the person you're presenting before that judge or magistrate, accusing him of that crime. These people, I have said it more than enough times, they are all in agreement. They all say, yes, we should arrest Raila. What they want, what the problem is, Trevor, is that there is no one with the balls in Kenya Kwanza to actually arrest Raila. You see, these guys, this is what I'm saying. You have said this thing for over a year now. You know where Raila lives. I can take you to his house today. In fact, yesterday I was with Cherargei at a committee meeting, and I told him, as a citizen, you have a right to arrest Raila. Can I go with you now where he is? Then you arrest him, you know? Because these people just talk. You have threatened violence, you have threatened to kill us, you have threatened to assassinate us. I am telling you, Trevor, Kenyans have lost fear of this illegitimate government. And what we are doing, Trevor, you know, when an ostrich has its head in the sand, it is refusing to listen. We are going to grab that ostrich by the scruff of its neck. That head must come out of the sand, and these people must listen to Kenyans. Khalwale talks about us being cowards. He knows me. Khalwale was saying those things because I was not seated here. He can't say those things to me. He knows for a fact that Sifuna is not a coward. We always start our demonstrations at the office of the minority leader. That is our office. The office in parliament is our office, just like him. I go to my office yesterday and I left to go to the streets. We reached the offices of the Prime Minister and we have information, Trevor, that these people have embedded goons within the police service to shoot at us. And the evidence is there because at Kamukunji, and by the way, we have held dozens of rallies at Kamukunji. You have been there. You have seen them. What is the justification for police to fire into a crowd at Kamukunji? What is the justification? There can never be a justification for people assembled in a crowd in Kamukunji, and then you see police firing straight into the grounds. They're firing live rounds at people. What is the justification? So we want to tell Kenya Kwanza, walk the talk. You have said you're not cowards. Arrest Sifuna. Arrest Raila. Because at the end of the day, after arresting us, you have to present me before a magistrate. You have to show that magistrate that is Sifuna who destroyed flower beds in Mlolongo. You don't just come here and talk. So please, stop talking. Start arresting.
But are you taking any responsibility?
Start arresting. Responsibility for what?
For the
I am responsible for my actions. I am responsible for my actions, Trevor. I am telling you this. Kenyans are angry. And they are not angry at us. They are angry at this government because they don't want to listen. We have been here with you 2 months debating this issue of the finance bill. That finance bill was not sponsored by Raila. And 99% of Kenyans came out to tell Kenya Kwanza that because life is difficult, please do not impose extra taxation. This is not Raila's bill. This is Ruto's bill. It is Ruto's act. It is his signature on that act. It is the signature of William Ruto.
Okay.
If he had listened to Kenyans, the sort of anger that is out there would not be happening. And Trevor, I want to add one rider. You people, this country, this illegitimate government is better off when it is known people like Sifuna, like Raila, like Osotsi leading these demonstrations. The day Kenyans take this matter upon themselves, Trevor, there will be no one to call to the table. It is better if you know it is Sifuna calling demonstrations. And by the way, from next week, 3 days straight of Mandamano, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, until William Ruto understands that the people are suffering and repeals this law the same way that he imposed it upon them.
Okay. Osotsi, Osotsi was also called a coward. Let him respond. It was accused of spending 1,500.
Let me tell you one thing. You see, this is how Kenya Kwanza trivializes issues. The issues I said in my opening remarks were that we had excessive police brutality. And I said that all the people who have died in this demonstration, they are all victims of the police brutality. They were shot. There is no single individual. And I challenge Khalwale and Kagucha here to produce any individual who has been killed who doesn't have a gun wound. I challenge them to produce. Number two, I raised the issue of the pre-demonstration statements by none other than Ruto himself. He was seen on TV angry and warning that as the president, he will not allow demonstrations.
He will not allow laws.
That kujeni muone. We have seen a member of parliament, and I have a clip here. If you allow me, I can give you the clip you play. A member of parliament, the member of parliament for Kuria West, came out and said police should shoot those demonstrators. He has not been arrested. The guy is still there. And in Migori, you saw what happened. One of the victims was from Migori. So these are serious issues that I expected an experienced politician like Bon Khalwale would come and address instead of going into trivial issues. He's talking about Vihiga. I was not in Vihiga yesterday.
Did you pay anyone 1,000?
We don't pay our people to demonstrate. People just demonstrate on their own.
Trevor.
He has talked about me being in Vihiga. I was not in Vihiga. He has talked about me being in the office of the whip. I was not in the office of the whip. So, Boni Khalwale, please don't be basing your argument on messages you receive. He has shown me the message he received from Vihiga, and apparently the person who sent him the message is a known individual who sends politicians messages for handouts. And even that individual, and I know him by name, I have just employed the son the other day. So the thing is, let's focus on serious issues, like the issues Senator Sifuna is raising, that he has not slept. He has been up and about trying to deal with the issues of police brutality, the killings. And the killings are more than the 6 that we are being told. So many people in Nairobi have been killed by the police brutality. What are we going to do about this police brutality? A member of parliament, as senior as Boni Khalwale, who has gone through this process of demonstration and police brutality, should be the last person to glorify police brutality and killings in this country.
All right.
We want to have a situation. Please, you know, you are the only member of the National Assembly seated among the senators. Senators, we are very responsible people. We don't encourage heckling. You need to listen to me as I talk. We need to promote a culture where we allow Kenyans to enjoy the freedoms they have to enjoy without intimidation by the state, without influence of the police through brutality. Let Kenyans enjoy this. They are trying to come up with a bill to limit the enjoyment of demonstration and freedom of assembly. We are saying that you will manage to push through it in the National Assembly, but Kenyans will resist it again. And I want to say, because Boni Khalwale said you have a parliament to use, the parliament that they are talking about, we have seen what happened. We saw what happened in the National Assembly, the passage of the finance bill. And even the other day, none other than, let me finish my point. None other than Osoro, who is the majority whip in the National Assembly, came out and said they bought members of parliament. And that's why Kenyans are angry. Kenyans are angry because the MPs who are supposed to represent them were bought. Kenyans are angry because the views they presented on the finance bill were ignored. And the state went ahead and forced that law on the people of Kenya. So what other option do Kenyans have? They demonstrate. When they go to demonstrate, police are being used to kill them. Where are we heading to as a country?
You know, I said Ototi must be a visitor in Jerusalem. He must have come to Kenya this night. And first of all, you can see the kind of attitude that Honorable Senator here demonstrates. He calls me a heckler.
Because when people are talking, you want to interfere.
Even our viewers can see we have allowed him excessive time to give his points.
It's not your show.
And the person allocating the time,
there.
Of course.
Yes, he's the one to allocate you.
Let him finish.
Of course. But Trevor gave me time to speak. When I'm speaking, he's calling me a heckler because I'm the only MP here. Don't you get surprised that I'm the only MP here?
Let's focus on the main discussion here. How does this all end?
You know, Trevor. Trevor, I want to educate Kenyans. And Kenyans need to understand the reverse psychology that ODM has been using over years. Number one, they use violence as their trademark, as we have said here before. Number two, those issues that you're hearing them talk about, paying people to cause mayhem in their own demonstrations so that they can attract sympathy, is what they are known for. And that is exactly what they are doing. Those people and those gunwoods you're hearing and those goons you have had them mentioned, they know how those goons ended up being in their own demonstrations. In fact, it is clear knowledge and there's credible evidence to show that most of those people who were shot yesterday were actually either shot by policemen who had been paid to shoot and kill by themselves to attract sympathy, or they were paid by themselves.
Where is the evidence?
Let's not make allegations.
Where is the evidence?
That is why, Trevor,
that's why I called him a heckler.
That is why when Kenyans were forced and they were pushed to go and demonstrate in the roads, my senator here was doing a committee meeting in parliament and taking tea. My senator here was also in the minorities office taking tea. They were not out there demonstrating. Our senator here in Nairobi only came out in the night to go and count the number of deaths that were meted on their own people by their own arrangement. I want to tell you this. Good Kenyans, we agree we have problems as a country. We agree that there are serious challenges to do with the cost of living. But those challenges are not going to be handled when we mix our issues with the ODM issues. Because ODM, they have their own troubles. They have their own violent bitterness of losing an election. Now, if you want to mix our own problems with that of ODM, just know that you're on your own. In fact, don't put your life on the harm's way. Do you know why I say this?